For decades, Hollywood has been a place of carefully curated images, guarded secrets, and polished smiles. But every now and then, one confession breaks through the glossy facade and reminds the world that even its brightest stars can stun the public with their raw honesty. And this time, it came from Nicole Kidman, 58 years old, radiant, iconic, and suddenly, or unexpectedly vulnerable. It happened during an interview that was supposed to be routine. A promotional appearance for her new project, a standard press tour stop, nothing more. People expected her to talk about filmmaking, aging gracefully, or perhaps sprinkle in a few anecdotes about her family life. No one expected a confession, certainly not one about her husband, Keith Urban, the man who for years seemed to quietly anchor her whirlwind existence. But then Nicole paused, folded her hands in her lap, and said a sentence that froze the room. "There is something I've never admitted publicly about my marriage to Keith, and it's time." The interviewer blinked, unsure whether she was joking. But Nicole held the gaze, her expression calm, almost eerie in its sincerity. And then she started from the beginning. Nicole Kidman has always been associated with elegance and emotional opacity, a kind of ethereal untouchability. She played queens, witches, doomed wives, grieving mothers, mysterious lovers. The public loved her, but few truly understood her. Even fewer claimed to know what she carried in the private chambers of her heart. Keith Urban, on the other hand, was her contrast in every way, earthy, charming, almost boyishly warm. A man whose music bled honesty and heartache. A man who once admitted he wrote entire albums just to survive his own demons. Together they looked like a Hollywood fairy tale, but everyone suspected deep layers beneath the polished surface. And Nicole confirmed it. She confessed that when she first met Keith, she didn't believe she deserved him. Not the glamorous, award-winning actress. Not the woman adored by millions. Not the icon who could command any room she walked into. No, she revealed that she carried a fear so persistent, so hidden, that even her closest friends had never heard about it. "I was convinced I wasn't meant for a happy marriage," as she said softly. "I thought I was, or broken in ways that couldn't be fixed." The audience watching the interview later would recount the same moment. Nicole Kidman, not acting, not posing, looked like a woman standing in front of her own reflection for the first time. And the confession only grew deeper. When Nicole turned 58, she faced something she hadn't expected, a quiet emotional crisis. Her career was still thriving, her daughters nearly grown, her marriage stable on the outside. But she admitted she began waking up with a strange sense of dread. A feeling she compared to the ghost of a life not lived. She confessed she questioned whether she had been fully present in her relationship with Keith. Whether she had spent too much of her marriage running, from roles, from expectations, from herself. And then came the line that instantly went viral, the one that shocked not only fans but even close colleagues. "Keith saved me, but I never told anyone what exactly he saved me from." According to Nicole, Keith Urban helped her escape something she refused to name directly, but hinted at carefully, painfully, like someone touching a bruise. She spoke about years of internal pressure, the kind no tabloids ever wrote about. She spoke about moments where she felt she was losing the ability to feel normal emotions. She spoke about waking up, even beside her own husband, feeling distant, as if her life was something she watched through glass. And then she added, "Keith noticed before I did. And he refused to let me disappear inside myself." This was the confession that made even the interviewer speechless. Nicole then shared one particular night, one she had kept secret for almost 2 decades. A night she said changed her marriage forever. She was filming a demanding psychological role, a character drowning in grief and self-destruction. It was the kind of role she had performed many times, haunting, immersive, mentally consuming. But this time, something went wrong. She didn't come home after filming. She drove aimlessly through Los Angeles until midnight. She turned off her phone. She cried without knowing why. Keith Urban, realizing something wasn't right, drove through the city looking for her, refusing to simply await for her to come home. When he finally found her, parked on a quiet overlook above the city, he didn't lecture her. He didn't ask questions. He just opened the passenger door, sat beside her, and played one of his unfinished songs on his phone. No words. No pressure. Nicole said she broke down completely. And that's when I realized he wasn't just my husband. He was the first person in my life who truly saw me. She admitted she never told the public because she didn't want their marriage to be romanticized in the wrong way. She didn't want the world to paint Keith as her savior or her as a fragile woman needing rescue. But now, at 58, wiser, calmer, and more honest than ever, she finally said it. Nicole's confession didn't stop at that night on the overlook. That story alone would have been enough to shake the public. Hollywood rarely reveals its vulnerabilities so openly. But she had more to say, something deeper, something that seemed to settle heavily on her shoulders even as she spoke. She admitted that for years she struggled with a silent fear most people never imagined she had. The fear of losing the love she finally felt she didn't deserve. And it started right after she married Keith. Nicole explained that the world assumed she battled professional pressures, media harassment, and old emotional wounds. But the real battle was much more personal. My fear wasn't that Keith would leave me, as she said. My fear was that I would ruin everything without meaning to. Her voice cracked slightly, just for a moment, but enough for those watching to understand this wasn't a rehearsed anecdote or a polished celebrity quote. This was a wound she had carried for decades. She confessed she used to cancel dinner plans at the last minute, isolate herself during filming, fear emotional closeness on some days and cling to it desperately on others. She was unpredictable, but not in the glamorous Hollywood sense. In the human one. Keith Urban, she explained, handled it with a patience that didn't just surprise her. It disarmed her. She remembered one evening after a long shoot. She came home, exhausted, emotionally frayed, and overwhelmed. Keith had cooked dinner. He tried to talk. Nicole shut down. She told him she needed space. But she didn't say when she'd come back. Or if she would at all. Most people would have pushed, demanded, argued, or walked away. Keith didn't. He simply said, "Then I'll sit outside the door. I don't need you to let me in. I just need you to know you're not alone." Nicole admitted that moment terrified her. Not because it was intrusive, because it was unconditional. Because she wasn't sure she knew how to receive that kind of love without breaking apart. And then came the twist that no one expected. Nicole revealed that she wasn't the only one hiding emotional struggles. She said that behind Keith's charm and kindness, he carried shadows too, the well-known battle with addiction, yes, but also something much more private. A sense of guilt. A guilt that he wasn't enough for her. Nicole explained that early in their marriage, Keith had a moment of collapse, a night she has never spoken about publicly. It happened after a major event, one where Nicole was praised endlessly while Keith stood slightly in the background, smiling politely but painfully. When they got home, he shut himself in the studio. Nicole found him hours later, sitting on the floor, surrounded by unfinished lyrics. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't high. But he looked hauntingly lost. "I don't know how to be the man you deserve," he whispered to her. Nicole said this confession shattered her. She had always seen him as the strong one, the warm one, the stable one. She never imagined he carried fears that mirrored her own. She kneeled beside him, took the crumpled pages out of his hands, and told him the truth. "You're the only person I've ever felt completely safe with." That night, she said, they realized something essential. Their marriage wasn't built on perfection. It was built on two flawed people choosing each other, over and over again, despite their own insecurities. Then Nicole talked about turning 58, in a voice full of reflection, almost trembling with meaning. She said aging in Hollywood is like wearing a spotlight that grows harsher with each passing year. It exposes every wrinkle, every insecurity, every trace of time. And for a woman, she explained, it often comes with an unspoken message. You are becoming less valuable. Nicole admitted this affected her more deeply than she wanted to admit. She feared becoming a too old, a too irrelevant, a too much work to love. But Keith? He stunned her. For her 58th birthday, he handed her a letter, not a gift, not jewelry, not a Hollywood gesture, a handwritten, tear-stained letter. She read the first line during the interview. "Growing older with you is the greatest privilege of my life." Those words, she said, did something to her. Something she hadn't expected at this stage in her life. They freed her. Because for the first time, she finally believed him. The interviewer, leaning forward, whispered the obvious question. What exactly is the confession? What shocked everyone? Nicole smiled sadly, soft, vulnerable, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with makeup or lighting. The confession is that I built walls around myself, even in my marriage. And Keith spent 17 years trying to gently knock them down. She paused. Then came the sentence that sent shockwaves through social media. I wasn't always a good partner. Keith loved me more than I knew how to love him. Until now. That was the moment the world went silent. Because Nicole Kidman, the famously composed, graceful, almost mythical Nicole, had just admitted something painfully human. She didn't fully open her heart until she was 58 years old. And the final twist? She revealed that Keith Urban suspected this all along. And loved her anyway. The interviewer seemed stunned into silence, but the cameras kept rolling, capturing every quiet second as Nicole gathered herself. What came next felt even heavier, like she had been waiting years for someone to simply ask the right question. Why now? The interviewer finally whispered. Why reveal this at 58? Nicole looked down for a moment, smoothing the fabric of her dress as if searching for the right thread of memory. When she answered, her voice was steady, clear, and almost unbearably honest. Because I realized I've spent half my life being scared. And the other half pretending I wasn't. She said aging had peeled away her old defenses, layer by layer, until only the truth remained. A truth she could no longer hide behind roles, red carpets, or perfectly controlled interviews. She paused, then added, At 58, I don't want to perform honesty. I want to live it. And honesty meant revealing the most painful part of her confession. For years, she didn't believe herself capable of loving Keith the way he loved her. Nicole revealed something the public never suspected. Her marriage with Keith Urban came close to falling apart a decade ago. Not because of infidelity. Not because of career pressure. Not because of addiction. But because she withdrew emotionally without realizing it. She said she entered a period where she became consumed by her work, immersing herself too deeply into roles, disappearing into characters, using film sets as an escape from problems she didn't know how to confront at home. Keith, meanwhile, felt her slipping away. He told me one night, I don't know how to reach you anymore. And it terrified me. Nicole admitted she didn't know how to respond. She froze. She didn't yell, didn't cry. She simply shut down, the way people do when the truth hits too close to home. The next morning, Keith packed a small suitcase, not as a threat, not as an ultimatum, but because he genuinely believed she needed space from him. He left her a note. "I love you enough to walk away if that's what helps you find yourself." Nicole said she stared at that note for hours, shaking. She knew she was losing him, not because he wanted to leave, but because she wasn't showing up for him. That was the day she realized her silence had consequences. Later that evening, Nicole surprised even herself by driving to one of Keith's favorite places, a small, hidden recording studio he often used when he needed clarity or escape. She found him sitting alone with his guitar, strumming a melody she'd never heard before, slow, aching, and raw. He didn't look up when she entered. He didn't speak. He just kept playing. Nicole sat beside him, took his hand, and whispered, "I don't want space. I want help. I don't want distance. I want you." Keith finally looked at her, with eyes full of tears that he didn't bother wiping away. He admitted he wrote that unfinished song about losing the most important person in his life. Nicole realized in that moment just how much her walls had hurt him. She promised him something that night. "I will learn how to let you love me." She said they spent hours talking, crying, reconnecting, one of the most honest conversations they had ever shared. No cameras. No publicity. No glamour. Just two people facing the fear of losing each other. That night saved their marriage. Keith put the suitcase back in the closet. Nicole returned to therapy for the first time in years. They rebuilt, not quickly, not perfectly, but deliberately. The interviewer carefully asked, "So, when did it finally change? When did you truly feel or open?" Nicole smiled gently, as though the answer still surprised her. "On my 58th birthday." She confessed that she woke up that morning with a clarity she'd never experienced before. A sense of peace. A sense of choosing to love, not cautiously, not logically, not safely, but fully. She described a moment that morning when she watched Keith making coffee in the kitchen. Nothing special, just a simple domestic scene. But for the first time, she felt everything all at once. Gratitude. Vulnerability. Fear. Love so strong it was almost frightening. And then she whispered something that made millions of viewers gasp. "I realized I've loved him deeply for years. But I didn't let myself feel it until now." That was the real confession. Not that their marriage struggled. Not that she had fears. Not that he had dark moments. But that it took her 17 years to fully open her heart. She explained that healing isn't a straight line. It's slow. It's imperfect. Sometimes it takes half a lifetime. The interviewer, stunned, asked softly, "Do you regret anything?" Nicole nodded. "I regret every moment I kept him waiting at the door of my heart. But I'm grateful he never stopped knocking." The interviewer sat speechless, as did the crew behind the cameras. This wasn't a celebrity anecdote. This wasn't a PR-crafted feel-good story. This was Nicole Kidman dismantling her own mythology piece by piece, and revealing the most vulnerable truth of her life. And then, as if sensing the weight of her admission, she shifted to something even more intimate. Something she had never told the public, or even many of her closest friends. A moment that defined everything that came after. Nicole revealed that 2 years earlier, Keith had secretly written a letter for her, not for a holiday, not for an anniversary, but simply because he felt she needed to hear something he had never said aloud. But he didn't give her the letter. He hid it. Inside the book she kept on her nightstand, in a chapter she never reached. For 2 entire years, the letter waited silently inside those pages. Nicole found it by accident while cleaning her bedroom during a quiet morning. She opened the book, flipped through, and a folded paper fell onto her lap. Her first thought was confusion. Her second was fear. She unfolded it, and for a moment, she could barely breathe. Keith had written, "If you ever doubt your worth, read this. If you ever question my love, keep going to the next page. If you ever feel alone, know that I'm beside you even when you pull away." Nicole admitted she cried so hard she couldn't finish it. But one line kept echoing in her mind for days. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You just have to let yourself be seen. That sentence, she said, changed her. It was the first time she understood something crucial. Keith Urban didn't love her because she was strong. He loved her because she was human. After the interview aired, social media exploded. People around the world wrote that they never expected Nicole, poised, elegant, impossibly composed Nicole, to publicly admit vulnerability, regret, emotional walls, marital struggles, fears, insecurities, and a late-in-life awakening. But what shocked everyone the most was the raw truth of her final message. During the last minutes of the interview, Nicole looked straight into the camera with a calmness that felt almost spiritual. And she said, "I spent so much of my life acting like I had everything under control. I built a career on emotion, but I didn't know how to handle my own. I loved deeply, but from a distance. At 58, I finally learned the lesson I should have learned decades ago. Love isn't about deserving. It's about allowing." The interviewer whispered, "Ian, does Keith know all this?" Nicole smiled, a soft, peaceful smile. "He knows now. I finally told him." The interviewer leaned forward. "How did he react?" Nicole laughed quietly. He said, "I've been waiting for you to say that since the day I met you." Then he kissed my forehead and said, "Welcome home." The moment that went viral. Millions of viewers wrote that this was the line that broke them. Keith loved me long before I learned how to love myself. Nicole explained that she spent years thinking love had to be earned, proven, justified. But Keith showed her that love can be patient. Love can wait. Love can stay even when you don't know how to hold it. And at 58, she finally understood what real intimacy meant. Not youth. Not beauty. Not perfection. Presence. Vulnerability. Letting someone see the parts of you you spent a lifetime hiding. Before the interview ended, Nicole gave one final message, a message that resonated far beyond Hollywood, far beyond celebrity culture, far beyond age or fame. She said, "If you're afraid you've wasted too much time, you haven't. If you think you're too old to open your heart, you're not. If you believe you can't change, you can. It took me 58 years to truly let love in. It's never too late." The camera cut to black. But the world kept talking. Not about scandal. Not about gossip. Not about Hollywood drama. But about the rare moment when Nicole Kidman stopped being an untouchable icon and became simply a woman who finally chose love. The next day, Keith Urban posted a single message on social media. No pictures. No hashtags. No explanations. Just a sentence. "Thank you for coming back to me with your whole heart. I love you." It broke the internet. Magazines published headlines for weeks. Fans wrote thousands of messages about relationships, vulnerability, and late-life emotional healing. Nicole's confession became a symbolic moment, not of weakness, but of courage. Because sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is admit they weren't always brave. And sometimes, the biggest shock isn't a secret revealed, but a heart finally opened.